Hi, I'm Dr. Garry Palmer of Sportstest. This week I picked up a tweet from someone mentioning they were too nervous to have breakfast before a race, or they thought it was going to make them sick. Made me thinking about breakfast strategies before racing. Something that obviously with triathlon we come across quite often, very early starts. But something for other people, nerves make them feel like they don't want to eat or they can't eat. My wife, we used a strategy where she struggles to have breakfast too early in the morning, so we had to look at what we did for triathlon, and something that worked for me. Realistically, your last solid food intake wants to be 3 to 4 hours pre-race, which, okay, if you've got an afternoon race, that's really not an issue whatsoever. But if you've got a race that starts at, before, let's say 8 o'clock in the morning, so it's quite often a try might start at 6:30. But if you've got anything that starts before 8 in the morning, you really don't want to be getting up at 4 or 5 in the morning to have breakfast. So the next strategy we think about then would be, if you've had your last meal 3 to 4 hours before, you'd have a light energy and take a snack, something about 2 hours before breakfast. So again, that's a situation where you've got a 6 a.m. start or a 6:30 start. We're starting to get onto the borderlines of what's going to work for you there. And generally, I would suggest that sort of if we look to the training situation, that would be exactly the same. Your last solid food would be 3 to 4 hours beforehand, and then you might have a light snack about 2 hours beforehand, and then after that point, I'd have fluid and water only. So we've got to see, well, okay, race day, what should be different, and why do you actually need that energy pre-race? Well, first of all, if we're looking at breakfast pre-race or pre-training, realistically the breakfast just tops up your blood sugar. So if you've eaten sufficiently well the previous day, there shouldn't really be any need for you to eat a massive amount before you're training in the morning. So really all we're trying to do is just top up blood sugar level, so the brain stays active and alert. So in an ideal situation for a race, what we would be looking at is, if it's a major race, is certainly tapering. Even if it's a minor race, you should really have an easier training day or no training the day before. So if you have a day with little training or no training, what you then look to do is you then look to top up your carbohydrate store through the day by consuming a decent amount of carbohydrate through that day. And it'd be suggested that you want somewhere around about 5 grams of carbohydrate per kilogram body weight, unless of course, and you've tried this before, and this is something we'll talk about later at another stage, would be specifically if you were trying to carbo load. And with carbo loading you might have as much as 10 grams of carbs for each kilogram of your body weight. So we'd probably be looking for about 5 grams of carbs a day for the day or 2 days before you're racing, and backing down your training. That really should fill muscle and liver glycogen, and then say overnight what you're trying to do is your breakfast is really just to be a final top up. So again, I'd be looking an easier day or two prior to the race. Your final dinner tops up your carbohydrate. It's something that's easily digested. It's not going to sit heavy overnight. It's not going to need you leading to a massive bowel movement in the morning. You want to have something that you can cope with and digest relatively easily. So then we come to race day. So race day, really you want something that's quick, easy, and lightly digestible. For me, something like a slice of toast and jam and a small glass of orange juice does the trick. It gives me simple sugars, it tops up my blood sugar level, and it doesn't leave me feeling too heavy. That would be if I'm having a race that's maybe a 9 a.m, 9:30 start. But if I'm looking at a triathlon, I might just have, or if I'm travelling away from home, I might just have something like an energy bar and then sip on water. Something again that's not going to sit heavy. It's not going to need you needing to go to the toilet halfway around the race. You want something that's very, very easily digestible and not too heavy. The situation we found that worked really well for my wife was, she was quite happy to have an early morning cup of tea, but really couldn't eat probably for the next hour or two after she'd got up. So what we actually did, and tricked her one morning, nice big mug of tea, which I stuck 40 to 60 grams of carbohydrate in. So on the carbohydrate basis, I used a long chain glucose polymer with no flavourants, no additives, no colorants, and I was able to then top up the glycogen levels by popping it in her tea, and she found that worked really quite well for her. So again, something for her that she could do with quite happily without causing her any problems. It's really important, whatever strategy you try and play with, that you have actually practiced it pre-race day. So you don't do this for the first time on race day. So I'm a little bit worried that this is going out in the week of London Marathon. Don't try something new on race day. So practice in training, find what works for you, find out what your best evening meal is the night before the race, find out how you cope with different strategies through training. Give it a go. I'm sure it will help you out when to assess those pre-race nerves, or for those of you that struggle to eat breakfast, or for us poor buggers that have got early start triathlons. Good luck, have a great season, and be back next week with some more useful information.